Okay, I want to thank you for the break. We're actually 1 minute past our time. I'm sorry. Heidi, you had a couple short presentations from the developer.
The developer does have a presentation, yes. And it's going to be Stephen Foulkes.
How do I make it go?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. Okay. So we might as well just go to the next one. Right. Good afternoon. My name is Steve Foulkes. I am the Vice President of RCK Properties. I'm going to just briefly run through kind of the history of this project from its inception way back in the 60s to today. I will be very brief. And then I will turn it over to Dr. Krantz, who will address a lot of the environmental issues about the project. Just a little bit about me. I've lived in Big Bear almost all my life. My parents moved me there in 1955. And except for many years in college and graduate school, it's been my home almost since then. RCK Properties hasn't been there quite that long. They bought several large tracts of land in 1969. Most of those tracts have been developed. Moon Camp is one of the last, in fact, it is the last parcel in that. They've done Eagle Point Estates, China Gardens, a variety of other quality residential developments in the valley over the intervening years. So, turning our attention to Moon Camp specifically, it was part of the 1969 purchase. And it was purchased from a Bear Valley Mutual Water Company, and it included 200 acres of lake fill rights, the right to fill lake bottom land to create new residential lakefront land. That was part of the transaction back then. So the initial project design at inception was this plan, and you can, there it is. These two large islands were going to be how the company planned to use some of that fill rights. This project had 62 lakefront lots. It was part of a lawsuit with the Municipal Water District, but it was never put before the county for approval. A lot happened in the early 70s that many of you probably are aware of. The Clean Water Act was adopted, California's Environmental Quality Act was adopted. It became clear that major dredge and fill projects were not likely going to be approved, even though the company had the right to do it with the owner. So in 1988, a revised plan was presented to the Municipal Water District. There was this plan that's in front of you now. It didn't involve nearly the level of dredge and fill. However, it did significantly modify the shoreline along this property to try to maximize the number of lakefront lots. This plan had 45 lakefront lots. An EIR was started on the plan, but it was determined that the county of San Bernardino would not grant grading permits unless a track map was associated with it. So the project was stopped so that the company could focus on a South Shore development, Eagle Point Estates. In 2001 was really the next time that this project came forward. Mr. Tim Wood, who was a prominent broker and real estate developer in the Big Bear Valley, partnered with RCK to develop the property. And this was Tim Wood's initial plan. He felt that the dredge and fill was complicating the project and was creating adverse impacts, and so he eliminated that. But this project had 92 lots, and 31 of them were lakefront lots. This project had a draft EIR prepared, and that EIR identified 5 areas where significant impacts could not be mitigated. Among them, bald eagles, rare plants, and water supply. It also identified an alternative project which would significantly reduce the impact. That's the project really that's before you today. It's been modified multiple times over the intervening years to adjust the habitat, to adjust the open space, to make it more compatible environmentally. This plan has no lakefront lots. So just to give you some tracking mechanism, tracking the lakefront lots, from the initial inception of 62, we went to 45 to 31, and this project before you has none. I was going to move on here, but some of the testimony here before you today is so inaccurate that I feel I need to address it before Mr. Krantz comes on. the statement was made that there are no bald eagles on the South Shore. I live in Eagle Point Estates on the South Shore. I have eagle perch trees in my backyard. I see Jackie and Shadow in those trees almost daily, or certainly on a regular basis. Last weekend, I was on the dock that's supposed to be so detrimental with my grandchildren, and one of them flew over us about 30 feet and up into one of the perch trees. While we were having lunch, it flew out of the perch tree and joined the other one as they were hunting and circling around Eagle Point Estates. They're there on a regular basis. So to say that they've abandoned the South Shore, this was not 2 years ago, this was last weekend, okay? And they're there almost every weekend, every day if you're out there looking for them. Anyway, I just felt I needed to add that in. This project, in our view, the preferred alternative, okay, protects the environment. Okay, we have lowered the density. Oh, I should also add that Eagle Point Estates has twice the density we're proposing here. The marina is twice the size that we're proposing here. And the eagles are there, okay? We feel that the project actually is an enhancement to the community. It's a very low density, and it will be an asset to the Big Bear Valley. Therefore, I want to thank you for your consideration and request that you approve this project. And I would like to have Dr. Krantz address a lot of the environmental issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Krantz, sorry. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, honorable members of the Board of Supervisors. Let's see, how do I do this? Click the mouse button. The other mouse button.
You can advance forward on that.
This one? Okay. Ta-da. Okay, thank you. So thank you very much for hearing me. I'll try to be as brief as I can. I lived in Big Bear from, well, I've actually dedicated 40 plus years of my professional life to the conservation of Big Bear's rare plants and bald eagles. I've testified countless times before this board, as a member of the County Planning Commission, before the City of Big Bear Lake, and as an expert witness representing San Bernardino Valley Audubon Society and the Center for Biological Diversity and other environmental groups on behalf of preserving the habitat in Big Bear for its unique flora and fauna. I'm the principal author, together with Tom McGill, of the long-term management plan that supplements the Moon Camp application. Unlike other developments in Big Bear Valley with sensitive resources, some of which I battled hard to set aside open space lots and conservation easements, those did not have the management plans or funds to conserve the resources. And some, such as Castle Glen Eagle Habitat Preserve, have now fallen into disrepair. The Moon Camp project, on the other hand, with its detailed habitat enhancement programs and non-wasting management fund, will serve as a model for how to do a project with sensitive resources for the benefit of all of us. There has been much press and interest in the bald eagle nest in Big Bear and possible impacts of this project on the nesting birds. I share that interest and greatly enjoy watching the live nest cam of Jackie and Shadow and the nestlings. I've watched it avidly for the last several years with my ornithology class at the University of Redlands. The fact of the matter is that the distance from the nest to this project has been misrepresented on social media as being less than a half of a mile. The fact is the nest is about a mile away, as you can see here in the center of the project, with much existing development in the Grout Bay and town of Fawnskin area in between. Let's see, is there a way that I can use, this is the little light, pardon? So no, so for a light or a pointer? That'd be for this? Oh, there it is. I can't really see it. That there is much existing development in Grout Bay and the town of Foulkes in between the nest and this project site. Particularly the Captain John's Marina, the peninsula just south of the town of Foulkes label there. Captain John's Marina is a very busy public marina, much closer to the nest site than this project. It was built long before Big Bear's bald eagles began to nest there in 2012, and yet they are undisturbed by that. The eagles are largely unperturbed by presence of humans. This nest in the San Gabriel Mountains is just 100 yards off of Highway 39 north of Azusa, where so many people were stopping to take pictures that the Highway Patrol had to implement traffic controls there. The environmental opposition's own bald eagle expert, Dr. Peter Bloom, is quoted in this Times article. Bald eagles are among the few raptors that are unafraid to dive head-on into humanity. Eventually, there will be eagle families at every reservoir in the state. That's the opposition's own eagle expert. Working together with the Forest Service biologist Michael Coffey and ornithologist Kimball Garrett, we developed the first eagle census, systematic census methods in Big Bear of these bald eagles in the late 1970s, early 1980s. Since then, the Forest Service has run these annual bald eagle censuses, typically 3 or 4 times a year, until just this past December, when the Forest Service discontinued the eagle censuses with this notification, and I quote, "With the recovery of the bald eagle population, counting them isn't needed anymore from a scientific or management standpoint," end quote. The censuses showed that the bald eagles preferred South Shore perches more than North Shore perches, despite the fact that the South Shore is the developed portion of the city of Big Bear Lake and is much more heavily developed than the North Shore, which is largely undeveloped Forest Service land. Why do the eagles prefer the South Shore? Because they can't see the food on the dinner table from the North Shore perches. The glare factor is so extreme. You can see the glare here from a drone images taken from Moon Camp. The reason for the South Shore preference is that from Moon Camp, they can't see their prey of fish or waterfowl in the shallows because of the glare. Perch trees along the South Shore or east-facing perch trees, such as at Grout Bay, afford much better views over the dinner table. With their 7-foot wingspans, bald eagles can't just perch in any green pine tree. Rather, they select dead-top trees or trees with large windows, stout limbs that afford an unobstructed view over the foraging habitat on the lake. Such trees are typically more than a century old, with basal trunk diameters of about 3 feet or more in diameter. Herein lies the problem for Big Bear's bald eagles, in that with their typical South Shore perching habitat, these trees are removed faster than nature creates another century-old tree because they threaten to lose large limbs or fall on residential roads and houses. Moon Camp project resolves this problem by setting aside the entire lakefront portion of the property as permanent open space. There will be no facilities there, no permanent structures of any kind. There will be a dock that's entirely closed during the winter months. There will be no people walking along the shore. It will be fenced and exclude people where today they can walk there. It's unimpeded. My crew plotted every tree greater than 2.5 feet in diameter along the lakeshore property as a potential perch tree. This is one that could be topped or trimmed or limbed to create a more perchable perch tree for bald eagles within a direct line of sight to the dinner table on the lake. So we mapped all of these trees, and if we look at this map with the trees along the lake shore and within a direct line of sight to the foraging habitat, there are 60 some odd trees in this map area. The Moon Camp property is, the eagle use of this property is only for perching habitat and foraging habitat along the immediate lakefront. There will be absolutely no impact on the nesting bald eagles. They're a mile away, and they prefer the habitat in and around Grout Bay and to the south of them over open water where they can catch fish. So I will reiterate that there will be no impacts to the nest site itself or to the nesting bald eagles. The long-term management plan establishes a perch tree habitat enhancement program in which for every tree greater than 2.5 feet diameter, every tree on the entire project that must be removed for whatever reason, a fee will be collected to pay for an arborist to go to those perch trees along the lakefront lot and limb and trim them and make them better perch trees so that Jackie and Shadow can, in fact, use the property to a greater extent than they do now. These same perch tree habitat enhancement measures have been used successfully by the Forest Service on the property immediately below the nest site at Grout Bay, where thousands of cars pass every day directly underneath the perch trees with eagles overhead, probably unaware that the eagles are right there and without disturbing them. The Moon Camp property also contains rare plant habitat, including the threatened ashy gray Indian paintbrush pictured here, found only in the Big Bear area. The project proposes to conserve this rare plant habitat. 5.3 acres of the best quality habitat has been set aside as permanent protected open space. Some of this rare plant habitat does also include some of the primary perch trees that may be further enhanced for bald eagle use. In addition, a 10-acre, very high-quality rare plant preserve, including ashy gray paintbrush, and 2 other threatened rare plant species, and a suite of other rarities will be set aside and protected in perpetuity as part of the Moon Camp long-term management plan. Missing that slide. The Sugarloaf Pebble Plain, as this habitat is called, will become an important addition to the Moon Ridge Pebble Plains Ecological Reserve, protecting the best examples of this rare plant community in Big Bear Valley for everyone to enjoy in perpetuity. Thus, in my view, the Moon Camp project represents the culmination of 40-plus years of my own conservation work. Back in 1987, I, working together with an artist friend, developed this T-shirt honoring our Big Bear bald eagles in an organization that I formally incorporated, a conservation organization called Friends of Big Bear Valley Preserve. I've invested my life in trying to protect these birds, usually speaking against bad projects, but this is not the time for me to do that. And I've put all of my credibility on the line to come to you today and say that, in fact, the Moon Camp project exemplifies how to build a project correctly with these sensitive resources. Unlike the other projects in Big Bear Valley that may have set aside rare plant or bald eagle habitat, but without long-term management protections, the Moon Camp project does this right by establishing 9.2 acres of permanent protected open space under conservation easements. And with the addition of 10 acres of rare plant habitat off-site, all fully endowed with a non-wasting management fund, the people of Big Bear and the rest of Southern California will be able to enjoy these unique resources for many generations to come, including Jackie and Shadow and their offspring. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. We'll bring it back to the board for further discussion at this point. Ms. Rao.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to disclose that I did meet with the developer to have an informational meeting on the project and to learn what Professor Krantz has just disclosed to us, but it will in no way sway me. I'm open-minded. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one question that was brought up in public comments. I think you're fine, Heidi. It's just a technical question. They talked about wood-burning fireplaces. Is my impression that you can't build those anymore in California, so
Okay.
I don't think we can build any more real wood-burning fireplaces anymore, correct, for new builds?
I believe so, and the Adam Panos from Fire is here if there are any other questions about fire, but that is correct.
No, thank you. Just when this statement's there, just want to clarify that, because I was in this state assembly when that came through, and I don't necessarily agree with that ruling, but yes. Any other questions to staff at this time? If not, we'll bring it close to the public hearing, bring it back for comments and/or motions at this point.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second for all the items recommended by staff, 1 and 2 on item 84. Any more discussion? If not, we'll take a roll call vote.
Supervisor Livingood? Supervisor Rutherford?
Aye.
Supervisor Rao?
Yes.
Supervisor Hagman?
Aye.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Aye.
Thank you.
Great, we'll move on to the last item of the day, item 85. I'll open the public hearing. Bunch of things. Heidi, you're up again.
Still me. So the last item is the cycle hearing. All of the projects that you have previously heard from Land Use Services include general plan amendments. And the recommendations included a declaration of intent to adopt and were continued for final adoption to this item. Keep doing that. So included in the cycle is the following projects: the RDS Partners Summerlin Senior Care Facility in Chino, which included a general plan amendment from single residential 1 acre minimum lots to general commercial and a conditional use permit to establish a 3-story 109-unit residential care facility. The second project is the Montanez Fiber Optics Office and Warehouse in Fontana, which includes a general plan amendment from single residential to community industrial on a 2.38 acre parcel, and a conditional use permit to establish a 12,000 square foot office building and a 4,980 square foot warehouse building on 4.77 acres. Also included is the Gruel Truck Stop in Baker, which is a general plan amendment from resource conservation to rural commercial on 7 acres of a 60.41 acre parcel. Tentative parcel map 19938 to create 3 parcels on 60.41 acres, and the conditional use permit to develop a truck stop center consisting of a 7,300 square foot retail market and fast food restaurant, a 3,570 square foot automotive repair shop, an impound yard with vehicle and truck fueling stations on 7 acres, and the final project you just heard, which is the Moon Camp project in Big Bear Fawnskin, which is the general plan amendment from Big Bear Rural Living 40 acre minimum lots to Big Bear, or Bear Valley, single residential 20,000 square foot minimum lots on 62.43 acres. And tentative tract map 16136 to create 50 residential lots with a minimum area of 20,000 square feet and 8 lettered lots.
Sounds good. Any questions to staff? Any requests to speak on these items?
No, sir.
I just need to go through the recommendation, make sure everything's included there, sorry. And it's lengthy, I apologize. The recommendation would be to conduct the public hearing for the second cycle 2020 general plan land use element amendment, and pursuant to CEQA, adopt a mitigated negative declaration for the Summerlin project, adopt a mitigated negative declaration for the Montanez project, adopt a mitigated negative declaration for the Gruel truck stop project, certify the environmental impact report for Moon Camp, adopt the findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations and mitigation monitoring and reporting program for Moon Camp, consider the proposed ordinance relating to the zoning for Summerlin Senior Care Project, General plan amendment from single residential 1 acre to general commercial, the Montanez project from single residential to community industrial, the rural truck stop project, general plan amendment from resource conservation to rural commercial, and the Moon Camp project from rural living 40-acre minimums to single residential 20,000 square foot minimums. Make alterations to the proposed ordinance if necessary, approve introduction of the proposed ordinance, read title only of the proposed ordinance for the second cycle, and waive the reading of the entire text and adopt the ordinance. Adopt the resolution amending the county general plan for the second cycle, 2020 general plan land use element amendment. Adopt the findings recommended by the Planning Commission for the Summerlin, Montanez, Gruel, Truck Stop, and Moon Camp projects. Approve the Summerlin Senior Care Facility CUP, subject to the conditions of approval. Approve the Montanez Warehouse CUP, subject to the conditions of approval. Approve the Gruel Truck Stop CUP, subject to the conditions of approval. Approve the Gruel Truck Stop tentative parcel map 19938, subject to the conditions of approval. And approve the Moon Camp tentative tract map 16136, subject to the conditions of approval. And direct the clerk of the board to file the notices of determination. That concludes my
I'm
presentation.
sending to one of those auction schools who can read real fast. And this will get on the record. Good job, though. Okay, so we got all that stuff in. I'll close the public hearing, bring it back. We need to entertain a motion for this item. Supervisor Livingood moves. Supervisor Rutherford second. Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Livingood. Supervisor Rutherford.
Aye.
Supervisor Rao.
Yes.
Supervisor Hagman.
Aye.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Aye.
Okay, we're bringing back to individual board comments.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I need to read the
Oh,
title.
we need to
Sorry.
read the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. An ordinance of the County of San Bernardino, State of California, amending the San Bernardino County General Plan Land Use Zoning District maps. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any supervisor comments at this point? See head shaking.
I do, but I can't find them. I
Okay,
waited so long.
Janice, go ahead.
Thank you. I first wanted to thank our clerk and the board staff with at least that one item today. We had so much public comment, so many emails that came in, and I know they worked really hard and long hours to make sure that we had everything for our consideration. So I just wanted to thank them so much. I also wanted to ask perhaps Leonard or Michelle, whoever feels it's appropriate. We are entering what we refer to lovingly as silly season. That is the election season where there's lots of campaigning and politicking. And I know we have state law and county policy that we ask our county staff to abide by in terms of not using public resources to do political or campaign work. I wondered if we could just review those and give the public some assurance that we are emphasizing those and communicating those to our staff.
Hello. There doesn't appear to be any activity in this meeting.
There we
If
go.
you would like to stay on the line until others join.
Yeah, I think that's the accumulation of a long day. Leonard's here, and he'll make sure that gets out. You don't need much of a report there.
Thank you.
Thanks. Don, you have anything? Robert? Nope, he's ready. Janet?
I've got a bit of an announcement, if you'll bear with me. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In my continued effort to strengthen our interagency council on homelessness, I'm working to create a path forward once I am no longer in office, and I will also parlay Supervisor Livingood's no longer being in office. I wanted you to know that I'm currently working on a leadership transition. I have been the chair of the ICH since its inception, and we're working to process and select a new chair and vice chair to lead the agency on ahead. I'm working to establish a new executive committee and improved conflict of interest disclosures to increase transparency on the agency. At a future meeting, I am requesting the support from the board to direct staff to develop a housing and homeless strategic plan in order to better align this county's resources with the continuum of care funding that comes under the Interagency Council on Homelessness. That way, the two plans will strategically align, complement, and ultimately reach similar goals. Lastly, I would ask, and I'd want to encourage my colleagues on this board to take a more active role in the Interagency Council on Homelessness. Both Supervisor Lovingood and myself will no longer be participating in the decision-making process come December, more like November. And two new supervisors will need to be, as you know, coming in January, and will need to be appointed to the Interagency Council on Homelessness with a potential third supervisor serving as an alternate in order to be able to have and ensure that this county has a voice on that agency. With the amount of new funds the state has allocated for homelessness, it'll be